It's time for the show that engages with people of the combat sports world. And now, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed combat sports show champion of the world, Flash Knockdown!
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me on episode 12 of Flash Knockdown with my guest, the Dana White of UK MMA, my MMA phoner friend, Ray Thompson. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm quite the Dana White, but I'll do what I can.
Okay. Well, to me, you are.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Ray, I know you're in the midst of putting together a mammoth fight card, which we'll get into a little later. So I really appreciate you making the time today, Ray.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Anytime to talk MMA, I'm always up for that.
Ha 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 ha. Me too. So Ray, before we go through your flash choices, could you give the viewers an overview of your broad involvement in MMA, please?
Yeah. So I've been a fan of the sport since early 2000s. So I've been following MMA before the term MMA was coined. I started watching UFC, if you like. That's what it was when I started watching. I watched as a kid. I've seen some of the early shows. So the first 3 or 4 I remember watching. Then I fell away, and then somebody gave me a DVD of UFC 38, which was the first time the UFC came to the UK, and I got hooked from there. I was able to find the whole back catalogue online. And I've basically watched every single UFC event in chronological order from UFC 1 up to present day. So that's what I'm really proud of. I've done the same with Pride Fighting Championships, watched all of them through. So I'm a bit of an old school fan. About 7 or 8 years ago, I started getting into doing a little bit of podcasting like what we're doing now. Started off with me and a friend just talking MMA. And then we decided to reach out and try and see if we could get interviews on. We started off with UK MMA guests. Local guests, relatively small time guys at the time, if you like, but that was cool. And then we were able to work our way up, and before we knew it, we were interviewing everyone from the world of UFC, fighters that were on their way up through the rankings. They interviewed people that went on to fight for titles like Stipe Miocic and Johnny Hendricks, Tyrone Woodley, and then I interviewed other characters from the world of MMA, not just fighters, people like Bjorn Rebney, who was running Bellator at the time. Big John McCarthy, who is an iconic figure, being involved with refereeing and the rules, of course, the current rules. Bruce Buffer, it was cool to speak to Bruce Buffer. He's obviously well known within the sport. So I did that for a few years. I got lucky enough to be recognised by the UFC for my media work, and I was able to get press credentials. So I got to go all over Europe to watch the UFC shows, which was pretty cool, and be cage side for some really cool moments. And then I got the opportunity to step in and have a fight, something that I've never really thought about doing. Something I was completely out of shape, but I wanted to see how I would do. So I put myself through a training camp, lost a lot of weight in a short space of time, got in and fought against another guy who was involved with MMA, but who wasn't a fighter. We fought 3 rounds at Cage Leeds at Ellen Road. He won decision. It was a good fight, a competitive fight. I was pleased with my performance. My cardio was good. I could have gone longer, so I was happy with what I did. A year later, I moved up north, reconnected with the chap I'd had the fight with, Stephen Mayer, and Almighty Fighting Championship was formed. So we've been running that for about 3.5 to 4 years. We promoted to date 17 shows. My partner's now stepped away. He's off doing his own thing now, so it's all on me. And I'm now the sole owner, the sole runner of Almighty Fighting Championships.
Wow, that is some backstory.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's something I'm really proud of. I mean, I just love MMA. I just love watching it and to be able to play my own little part and provide a platform for up and coming talent. And when I watch some of the guys that have been on my show, and I've watched them go on to become Cage Warriors champions recently, of course. One of them went on to become a champion in EFC. To see them fight from my show and then go straight to Bellator. You know, it's great to be able to, because without shows like mine, you can't do shows like Cage Warriors Bellator. They need to come through a show like mine to get to the bigger show. So it's great to be able to provide that platform.
Thank you very much for that, Ray. Thank you so much. So, Ray, it's that part of the show called, or what I like to call, Flash Choices. For first-time viewers, I will ask Ray 10 questions with 2 possible answers. And Ray, you choose the one that best suits in a flash. Got it?
Yep, got it. Pressure.
Okay, pressure. Let's go, my friend. A nice, easy one to get us going. AFC or CCFC?
AFC.
Oh, just to provide context, AFC and CCFC are your 2 sporting loves. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I grew up a Coventry City Football Club fan. I'll be honest, I've fallen away from football a little bit. The way I am about MMA is the way I used to be about football, but pretty much MMA is my life now. So I'll always choose MMA over any other kind of activity.
Wow. Dana White or Scott Coker?
I'm Dana White all the way. Without Dana White, in my eyes, there's no sport.
That's exactly what Joe Rogan says.
Yeah, I agree.
Ray Longo or Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? I
like Ray Longo.
Yeah,
I like him. I think he's very charismatic, and I love anything to do with Matt Serra. I think Matt Serra is brilliant. So yeah, I'll go for Ray Longo. I love the way he talks, the way he carries himself.
Yeah, he's got that Jersey accent.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think it's great. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of either of them, to be fair. But yeah, I think I'll go Ray Longo.
I thought you were going to go with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson because you know what his dad's name is.
I know, and you know what the funny thing is? I interviewed Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
You're kidding?
No, and when I told him my name, he thought I was taking the mick. Said,
right,
no, that is genuinely my name. I am Ray Thompson as well. But yeah, I interviewed Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on his way up through the rankings.
Wow. Dion Dublin or a guy born in Dublin, Robbie Keane?
Dion Dublin.
Yeah?
Dion Dublin, yeah. Dion Dublin
scorer.
He was... Robbie Keane was good, but he was only with us for 1 season. Dion Dublin was with us for a long time. And we had probably our most successful time when it was him and Huckabee. And I was at the ground for many of Dion Dublin's goals. And the most famous goal I think that he probably scored, or one of the most famous ones, and I was there for it, was when we played against Newcastle. And Shay Given rolled the ball out and he didn't realise Dublin was behind him. The only Irishman who didn't know where Dublin was. And Dublin
that's a good one.
Put the ball in the net. So, yeah, Dion Dublin for me.
Fine. But despite Robbie Keane being at Coventry for only 1 season, you did make a tidy profit.
I did, and we did, and I enjoyed him. He was great for Coventry. I think we brought him for 6 and sold him for 12, if I remember rightly. But yeah, we made an okay enough profit on Dublin, did we? I think we sold Dublin for 5 million, and I think we bought him for 2 million.
Right.
Because obviously United brought him, and he broke his leg, and then he came to us. But yeah, I mean, Dublin was iconic. Dublin and Huckabee was my favourite strike force for Coventry.
Guillotine choke or armbar?
Go for the guillotine. I think there's something that's dramatic about seeing somebody go unconscious.
Right. yeah.
And I hate seeing an arm get broke, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, you nearly got one against Steve.
I did. I went for it. And he obviously rolled with it, and I didn't roll. If I'd have gone belly down, as I was told by people who know more about it than what I do, I might have been able to pull it off. But I went for the armbar, but it wasn't to be.
To be fair, you were only training for 5 months leading up to that Stephen fight, so you did really, really well. Both of you did extremely well.
Yeah, it was a good experience just to get in and do it, because I've never thought to go out and pick a fight with somebody because it's not my nature. But to go in and test myself and see if I could fight, not that I could at any kind of level, and I get that, but just to go in and test myself and see if I had the guts to get in and do it was good enough for me.
Sure. Commentating or podcasting?
Commentating. I love being cage side and watching fights. You can't beat it.
The 12th of November, 1993 or the 2nd of April, 2016?
I'm thinking, I can't think what the November 93 date is.
You mentioned it at the start of the show. So the 2nd of April, 2016 is?
AFC.
AFC 1. And the 12th of November, 93 was UFC 1.
Of course. UFC 1. Without UFC, there's no AFC.
Lee Nicholson or Bruce Buffer?
You know what? I'm going to go Lee Nicholson because obviously Bruce Buffer's great at what he does, and he really is. He's obviously the number one in the world. Having met him in person, he's not a very nice person. So I'll go Lee. Lee's a lovely guy. He's a good guy.
Right. Don't worry, Bruce ain't watching this.
Yeah. He wouldn't be bothered what I say anyway. But I met him in person. He's so full of himself. It's untrue.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Highfield Road or high kick?
Highfield Road. It brings back a lot of memories.
It does.
A lot of good memories as a kid.
It does. Proper football grounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember going up there with my brothers. I remember when I was old enough and I could afford it, getting my first season ticket. Yeah, Highfield Road's got a lot of good memories for me.
Okay, and then the final one then, Ray. Caged Steel or Cage Warriors?
Cage Warriors.
Cage Warriors
is, for me, Cage Warriors is the best show in the UK, if not Europe. Any guy that comes through on my show, if they do well, I always say there's a good chance you'll come do well on my show and you'll make it to Cage Warriors. I'd like to see us as a show that will, that feeds into Cage Warriors. I mean, we've had Jack Cartwright go on to be champion and Luke Shanks go on to be champion, and they both come off big wins on Almighty.
Perfect. Okay, so how did you find that overall, Ray?
Love it.
Good fun?
Great fun. Great fun. Yeah.
Nice little icebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good fun. Oh, yeah, I like that.
Good. Thank you very much, Ray. So, Ray, coming on to AFC 18 and 19, you have that enviable task of arranging 2 shows in one day, spanning 40 fights and staging the biggest MMA heavyweight tournament ever seen in Europe during the most uncertain of times. How straightforward of a task is that?
It's you know what? I love doing what I do, as I wouldn't do it. I don't mind any of it. I'll deal with all of it. The only thing that I find frustrating is not knowing what's going on with things I can't control. So I'm obviously planning this show, and I'm going to do everything I can to push this show ahead. But if Liverpool goes into lockdown on that week, then I'm going to have to cancel, and I know that, and that's going to kill me because all I want to do is put a show back on again. And when I put all the fights together, a lot of time when I put the fights together, I look at fights that I would like to see. Especially either fighters that I know or the heavyweight tournament is something I'm obviously interested in, or I look at records and think, oh, that record looks good. So I look, and because I've put the fights together, I feel more connected to the fights and the fighters, and I want to see how they get on. I want to see how they play out. And when you put a fight together, and that fight, and it comes and it produces a magic moment, whether it be a spectacular finish or a crazy back and forward war, you kind of that's in a way that's your way of, if you score a goal in football or if you get the knockout yourself, because you put that together. That was for me, I put myself into the fight. So I like to see how they play out.
Do you do 100% of the matchmaking, Ray?
I do.
Wow.
I do all of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow.
I've had people offer to do it, but I know what I like. I know what I want to see on the show. So that's what I go with. That's what's worked for us so far.
Yeah, and if it ain't broke,
so that's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do.
Agreed. So the last Almighty card, Ray, was held in February at the Barnsley Metrodome. A quiet affair with just 28 fights. Topped off with Kieran Lister beating Johnny Brocklesby, both unbeaten at that point in their professional careers. Of course, you managed Kieran, and he's just made his Cage Warriors debut, winning by unanimous decision. How proud did that make you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, the Kieran Johnny fight was hard because I do manage Kieran, but me and Johnny have got a lot of history as well. He's come through the almighty ranks. He won the title. He lost the title in probably one of the most dramatic fights I've ever had, We then went over to Cyprus, and I took Johnny over to Cyprus to fight in Cyprus, and he had a massive win. And then on a week's notice, he stepped up on a short notice fight and won the title back before turning pro. So it was a really hard fight for me to make, because and they're both such nice lads, and the gyms are both such good gyms. But it was the right fight to make for Almighty, because they were both the two that had the biggest history on Almighty, because Kieran's had a lot of good wins on Almighty as well. But yeah, to see, I mean, the fight was epic, and obviously it was a great result for Kieran. It broke my heart to see, that things not go the way Johnny would have liked, because he is such a good guy. But then to see Kieran go on and do well at Cage Warriors against another guy who's fought on Almighty as well, and as his brother, as Tom and Richard, it was a really tough fight. Tom's and I spoke to Tom this week actually, because I've been speaking to Richard, and we can announce actually on the show Richard's going to be jumping onto the Almighty card. We had a pull out in the main event, so Richard Mearns is stepping in. There's an official announcement for your Flash Knockdown. So wow. Richard Mearns is going to be stepping into AFC 19 and facing Joel Downey Cave. So I spoke to Richard and Tom yesterday. So yeah, it was a close fight, Kieran and Tom. I think both of them did really well. They're both very highly skilled. And when it went to the decision, I was nervous. Obviously, I was glad it went Kieran's way. But yeah, it was great to see. I think Kieran's got a big future. He's a young lad. He's at a brilliant gym, and he's so grounded as well. He's such a nice lad. I think he's got a great career ahead of him.
Sure. I believe he signed a 5-fight contract with Cage Warriors.
That is correct. And we're just working, I can't say anything yet, of course, but we're just working on a new opponent, and he should get another run out this year, which is brilliant.
Yeah, agreed. And just on that, Ray, how good does it feel to be on the verge of another Almighty fight card after having 3 of your shows cancelled earlier in the year?
Oh, it devastated me to cancel the shows. And I cancelled the May one, which was Liverpool, and I already knew that there's no way we could go ahead for July for Metrodome. So that was fine. I did that, and then in the back of my mind, I thought, right, we'll end the year on a high. We've got Metrodome in October, and then obviously the Olympia in Liverpool in November. And then while I was speaking to the venue in Metrodome, the guy who runs it there, and he's such a good guy, and he was being as honest with me as he can, and I needed some kind of commitment as to what we could do for October, and he couldn't give it me. Not he didn't want to, he couldn't give it me. And I know he wanted to, so I just had to say to him early on, look, I'm just going to have to scrap that show and just focus on Liverpool. And I've had positive feedback from Liverpool, as in it looks like it's going to be good. The only concern at the minute, of course, is there's talks of a local lockdown for 2 weeks. I understand that's going to be over the half term, as like what they call a circuit breaker, and we should be back to normal by then. I spoke to a guy at licensing in the Liverpool Council, and he basically said, as long as you do, under the climate we're at currently, this is before the local lockdown come in, as long as you do A, B and C, which we're going to do anyway, then we're okay to go. It's all to do with the 10 p.m. finish and the 6 in a bubble, basically, which is fine. We're okay with that. That's why I'm doing the 2 shows, so I can still do enough to bring the revenue in to cover the cost of the show. The shows are expensive. I don't have the money to fund it myself, so I need the ticket sales to cover the show, which is why the 1 show wouldn't have covered it. So 2 shows will cover it.
And how can the fans purchase tickets for the show, Ray?
So I always try and encourage fans to buy tickets through the fighters, because it means the fighters earn a little bit of commission, which is nice to see them with all the hard work they do. So if you know somebody on the card, please contact them. They will sort tickets out with you. If not, you can go through our website, almightyfc.com.
Perfect. And just out of interest, Ray, how did the idea of staging the biggest European heavyweight tournament come about? So
a few years ago, we did tournaments. We did, going off memory now, we did a middleweight one, a welterweight one, a featherweight one, and a bantamweight one. They were all 4-man, and then we did an 8-man lightweight one, and they were good fun. And then I was thinking, obviously at the moment we're all as promoters, we're all trying to come back, and we're all trying to get back up and running. We're all trying to stand out. You had Contenders up Norwich way. They did the show where it was a drive-in show.
Yeah, the drive-in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was obviously really unique. And I spoke to Steve who runs that, and he said it was good, and I was pleased for him because he's a lovely bloke as well. And so we're trying to do something a bit different as well. And people do like tournaments. I've never been overly keen on the idea of a one night tournament, because I just think it puts a lot of strain on fighters, which is why I wanted to do it over multiple shows. So originally I was going to look to try and get 8-man, because I thought that would be quite ambitious, because heavyweight's quite a shallow division anyway. as in it tends to be one of the divisions that's not as deep as the I'd say from middleweight down to bantamweight, they're really deep.
Yeah.
Middleweight upwards, above middleweight and below bantamweight tends to be a bit shallow, and the female
Absolutely.
divisions are shallow as well in the UK, especially the amateur scene. So I thought if I can get 8, that would be great. And before I knew it, I had like 13. I thought, wow, if I can get 13, why not push up to 16? So that's why I did it. And then I did a bit of research. I thought it'd be the biggest in the UK anyway, because I wasn't really aware of any tournaments like that in the UK. I mean, tournaments was big back in the day when it first started. You had the Pride Fighting Championship tournaments and the UFC tournaments. UFC was predominantly 8-man. They did do the 116-man. Pride did quite a few 16-man. Their Grand Prix, as they used to call them, spread over the year. So I thought I'd do it. Then I spoke to Brad Wharton, who's the commentator at Cage Warriors. He's been involved with UK MMA forever. I mean, he basically is, in my eyes, Mr. UK MMA. He's the one that, if there's anybody who knows the most about UK MMA, I feel it's going to be him. So I asked him about it, and he said in his mind, in his memory, it's the biggest one that's ever been done throughout the whole of Europe. So I just thought that was a really cool tagline to have. It's something that's quite unique. So yeah, I was quite pleased when I heard that.
Awesome. And no matter if you are a fanatic or a casual, everyone loves seeing the heavyweights throw down. How would you assess the quality of the heavyweight competitors that will be on the show, and anyone we should be paying particular attention to, Ray?
I'm just going to go onto my screen. So, right, we've got some really, really good records on there. We've got guys that have, 4 and 5 wins, 6 wins, some, undefeated guys. We've got some mixture guys. We've got guys with even records. It's hard to say ones to jump out. So I just run through some names of guys that I know. There's some guys in there that I don't know that well, but run through some guys I know, guys that have been mentioned to me. You've got Mustafa Mohammed from Next Generations. Of course, he's training with people like Paddy Pimblett and Chris Fishgold and Molly McCann, and he's 4-1. You've got Ash Roden, who used to be at ABT, is now at Blackledge MMA. I know he's got good wrestling. We've got a guy called Jamie Acton. He used to be a professional rugby league player, so I think that that's quite interesting to see how he gets on. We've got guys from all over the UK as well. Guys coming down from London, some guys coming from Wales. So yeah, it's going to be good. I mean, like you say, with the heavyweights, anything can change a fight. One shot lands and it changes everything. They're all going to be 3-3-minute rounds, so there's going to be lots of drama, I think, in those 8 fights.
Lots of finishes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just think there's going to be lots of crazy moments.
Yeah, there will be.
2 guys just standing and trading, or like you say, finishes. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. And Jamie Acton, the guy you mentioned, the former rugby league player, he's making his MMA debut.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's an honour that he's chosen our show to do that.
That's
crazy. I'm really, really happy with that.
Yeah, I bet you are, Ray. And there are some other great matchups on the professional cards. Which fights are you most looking forward to, Ray?
Let's just have a look. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Adam Cullen and Conor Wilson get on, both coming out of Next Generation. They're both fought on Almighty as amateurs, and they've both got tough fights. Adam's fighting Dan Collins coming from Titan MMA, who trains with Jason Radcliffe. And then you've got Jack Young coming out of Hardy Wallhead, so he's training with good people, and he's going to be fighting Conor Wilson. So that's on the AFC 19 card. AFC 18. Looking forward to seeing Oscar Ainsworth against Richie Bonnelly. Oscar's got a lot of history with Almighty. He's going to be headlining for the first time. I know that was a big thing for him, and I'm glad that we're able to do that for him, because I think he's the one that's worked his way through the rankings. I've not worked with Richie before, but he comes from a really good gym, training at Team Fish Tank. We know how good Andrew Fisher is. He's had a great win at the weekend. James Williams back on the Almighty cage. The other fight that's interesting, I think, Eddie Johnson and Craig Scouten, both of them have fought on Almighty. Craig's got a lot of history on Almighty. Most of his pro fights have been on Almighty. Eddie's brother is, of course, is our flyweight champion, but Eddie's last fight was against Oscar, and he just got caught in a really unusual choke, and he got put away quite quickly. But I know Eddie's much better than that, and he'll be looking to come back and prove where he's at, and he's dropping down weight as well, so it'll be interesting to see that fight as well.